Hey guys, and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream. Of course, we do this every single week. The regulars, you're going to know that. And for anyone else new joining us, welcome. This is all about having a bit of a chat and a conversation about really anything you want, although there are obviously topics that we will discuss during the evening, including 3D printing. It's a topic that I bring up every now and then. Slowly people seem to be believing me on it, but we do have other interesting and significant topics to discuss. But thanks for joining. Your input is also appreciated, so any questions or any topics you want to talk about, then drop them in the comments section below or to the side or wherever it is. But yeah, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe share it, invite anybody that you think would be interested in this evening's stream. And again, we do it every single week, so pretty consistent. And yeah, we've got a good bunch of guys maybe that join us every single week. Am I just a question, am I too bright? Not something I'd ever have to normally think would be an issue, but it's coming through pretty bright on my screen. I can never get it quite right, but let us know if I'm looking good and sounding good as well. If there are any issues, let me know, and I'll try and sort it out. But yeah, let's get into it. Oh, thank you very much, Rich. The sun is shining and the rains are getting hot again. Absolutely. COVID almost seems like something of the past now. We're allowed to go out and shoot in indoor ranges. We're allowed to go out and shoot on outdoor ranges. We've been able to do that for a while. I think organised sort of group sport indoors is still a bit... we've got to wait a little while, but most importantly, the pubs are open. I've been making good use of that. Got a lot of time to catch up on, and I think anybody that is on my personal Facebook, that's not an invite, by the way, you might have seen I have done the scientific experiment, and after 3 months of testing, I can confirm that pub beer does taste better than home beer. But yeah, an interesting topic for tonight. A lot of you have already been talking about it. Mentally, no. Thanks, Chris. It's always good to know I'm loved. So I'll leave it as is. It looks completely blown out on my screen, but maybe that's the change that you guys need. No, it looks good. Cool. Well, let's get on with it then. So 3D printing, just as a bit of a precursor. Obviously, I'm fairly into my guns. I've got a fair amount of experience with guns. Not necessarily manufacturing guns, but I have a lot of engineering design experience, and within that engineering design experience involved a lot of 3D printing. I've used pretty much every single method of 3D printing under the sun, from a £300 desktop printer to a $250,000 industrial production printer. So I know my way around a 3D printer. I know its capabilities, and I also know its restrictions, what you can't do with one. And I actually it was a news story which I'll bring up now just to show you if you haven't seen it. This is what has inspired this evening's topic for the live stream. So it's Spain dismantles workshop making 3D printed weapons, and there was a little video. To be honest, I don't know what's going on in the beginning of this video. Obviously, it was in some cubbyhole, but it basically looks like they're just retrieving a guy from the cupboard. Like, come out, Bob. It's time to get you going again. Come on, we've got work to do. Come out your cubbyhole. No, let me sleep. So anyway, you get this little preamble. Much better with my voiceover, and then here we go. We actually get to the business end of it. So for those of you that don't know, what it's printing on now, the Prusa i3 is one of the most popular and well-known 3D printers on the market. You can pick them up for 300 quid. The Prusa Mini, I believe, is about £350. I think the exact same one there is actually around £500. So you're not talking mega money, and they found it right in the middle of printing what looks to be a Glock frame, and there were apparently loads of viable firearms found there. So this is happening. We're not talking about the hypothetical here. This is really going on. It's not out in America as well, because I know there's a huge wave at the moment with Americans playing around with 3D printers. Of course, their laws are a little different to ours, which enables them to do so. But to see this in Spain, to see this almost on our doorstep, on the continent of Europe, just a short bus ride away, is a little bit concerning, and something that I instantly want to sort of caveat and get out there. I don't condone this. I don't encourage this. I never encourage or condone breaking the law. Look, in America, it's a very different very different situation, very different scenario, and they're able to do it. They're able to make their own guns. They're legally allowed to. In Europe and certainly in the UK, you can't just go and 3D print your own gun. We have discussed with about firearms dealers doing it. There's technically nothing stopping somebody that has the authority and the licensing or the certification to be able to manufacture and 3D print guns for for whatever market. It can happen, and I will say that we're definitely going to see a shift in manufacturing. We're already seeing it, not just with guns, 3D printers being used to make end-use products. BMW are making various bits of the dash with 3D printers. Formula One, I know that's like the upper echelons of the car industry, but they're using 3D printers all of the time. I think even the Koenigsegg, the most recent Koenigsegg, is using 3D printed components. And a lot of people like to talk about viability. And, well, it's no point if you can print a frame and you can print this and that and the other if you don't have a barrel. We're seeing people, and I'm going to be very careful what we say, because I don't want to literally give somebody a shopping list of what they can and they can go out and get and make their own gun, because I don't want you doing it. This is about how is this going to affect, firstly, the criminal element, but also law-abiding gun owners. So you can easily make a viable 3D printer without a metal barrel, without even a metal firing pin. People are doing it left, right, and center. And even if you do need to go and get a bit of metal, it's not going to be hard to procure, to be able to get one. So making viable 3D guns, it's here. People are doing it. And for years, I think it was 6 years ago that I first made, maybe 5 years ago, that I first made a video on 3D printing. And for the most part, I was laughed at. A lot of people said, it will never happen. You can't do that. Firstly, the ammo, which I've seen a lot of people, bring up. And secondly, the barrel. People are getting really, really switched on with this, and there are a number of ways to get around needing a metallic barrel. It's not speculation. This isn't hearsay. This is happening. And in terms of ammunition, again, many ways to overcome this. There was it was actually Neighbours that showed this. I think it was on an ITV or maybe a Channel 4 documentary, where somebody was pressing lead into blank cartridges. So they were getting a blank round, zapping off the top, and just hand pressing in lead. And whilst, yes, you're not going to take an accurate 1,000-yard shot with it, it just has to be lethal. And Neighbours deemed this gun, it was a converted blank firer. This gun with this like homemade ammunition was lethal. It would present a lethal threat to somebody. So yes, in terms of gun control, and a lot of people probably see this title and think, I'm hailing this as almost a success. And actually, a lot of you will know, a lot of the regulars, I support our licensing system. I support the checks and balances, and I support making sure that somebody is proficient with a firearm, is safe with a firearm, and is competent. I really do believe in like a driving test for guns at the very minimum. Certainly if you're just going to be turning up to a range, like, you want to make sure that everyone at that range is going to be safe, and just somebody turning up with a gun that they've never used, they don't have basic firearms handling experience, could pose a potential danger to everyone. So you all know that I'm all about the licensing. Well, 3D printed guns is going to completely undo licensing. The whole point of having certification and the application process that we do is to make sure that people who are unsuitable be whatever your definition of suitable is, but to prevent people who are unsuitable to get hold of guns. Well, you can order online a 3D printer for 300 quid to your door, and anyone can do that. So it does ask the question of, well, where do we go from here? Are we going to start licensing 3D printers? That's just not going to work, right? There's already so many unregistered 3D printers out there and ghost 3D printers that you're never going to be able to sort of put the lid back on that one. The reason that gun control or sort of the legislation here in the UK works is because we did it a very long time ago. We did it before the proliferation of guns into the general public. 3D printers, like pretty much most people I know and hang out with have a 3D printer. It's just so commonplace now for people to tinker with, and pretty much any desktop hobbyist 300 quid printer is capable of completely circumventing our laws. And that does concern me, because we've seen criminal gangs wanting to use them to produce their own arsenal. And whilst, yes, we still have a lot of illegal firearms in this country and that have already circumvented the laws, it's still pretty difficult. They still have to smuggle them in somehow. A lot of them will get caught. There's a lot of risk if the mule, the sender or receiver is caught with that firearm. If you have a little 3D printer whirring away in a cupboard somewhere or your attic, who is ever going to know about that? It's a very low risk strategy for a criminal to get a completely untraceable and disposable firearm. It brings it into the realms of single-use guns. And it's not like criminals, we all like to say how, London's, the streets are being shot up and all that. They're not. Even when a shooting happens in London or anywhere in the UK, more often than not, it's 1 or 2 shots. So really, that's all the criminals need. They just need one shot. They need to be able to defend themselves against an attacker, or they need to be able to, organize a hit. So 1 round, 2 round viability is all they're really looking for, and the 3D printed guns will give it to them, and some. We're seeing 6-shot revolvers being 3D printed. We're seeing Glocks, with a 16, 17 round magazine working out of a 3D printer. And this problem, the technology is only going to evolve. It's only going to get more sophisticated. It's only the end product, as it were, is only going to get better. And I keep saying it, as soon as metal 3D printers become accessible to the home market, then that absolutely is nail in the coffin. So all in all, I think it's a very worrying, very concerning situation. And again, I've been saying it for years, I really don't think that our agencies and police force and the likes of NABUS are really on this. They don't really seem to be paying it too much attention or really doing anything proactive to be able to prevent it. But perhaps that's actually in summary, the biggest issue is that what can you do apart from licensing, controlling or banning 3D printers? How do you prevent it? It'd be interesting to know if any of you have any idea of how you would prevent it, but you've all been busy away in the chat, so let's have a look at what you've been saying. Eric Chambers, most shootings in the UK happen around 10 to 20 yards max. Exactly. We're not looking here at Olympic levels of accuracy. It's just something that you can hit a barn door with. I mean, even to just scare somebody with. I know you could just go and buy a blank gun or whatever, but just the threat or the intimidation of having a potentially viable firearm. Like, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to volunteer to play, Mr. Dummy in front of a 3D printed firearm. Basically, there's been an explosion in 3D printing firearms from the, I'll be cool yet, the FGC9 Mark II. So I follow a lot of the Reddit subreddits on firearms, and it just seems now more than ever the popularity of talking about 3D printed firearms. The people 3D printing lowers, which of course is the only licensed part or serial numbered part, out in America, people doing Glock lowers, people doing sort of carbine conversions for 1911s, all sorts of weird and wonderful contraptions. And a lot of these things do tend to start at a hobbyist level and then spawn out, and I think that's what we're seeing. Paul, the difficult thing is with the advent of 3D printed firearms, why disallow law-abiding from owning guns when the criminals will never have had it easier? Exactly. I mean, this is sort of the point, is it just completely undermines all gun laws. You know, if you read through our legislation, it's all about the possession of, the purchasing and the manufacture. Okay, you're manufacturing and you would be in possessing, but you would be in possession. But again, it removes a lot of risk. You don't need to meet that shady guy down some pub to change it. It doesn't need to come through the Royal Mail scanners to your doorstep. You are circumventing a lot of the let's say traditional methods that the police and these agencies would be using to flag up potentially a firearm making it through the postal service or making it through to somebody's house. So yeah, again, for me it's worrying. I know out in America they're all like, yippee-ki-yay, this is what is it, don't stop the signal, can't stop the signal. So it's for America with a Second Amendment and with that protection, like, yeah, I can see why they are embracing this, because it is like two fingers up to gun control out there, and in the US they're very much like that. In the UK, it's potentially frustrating talking about law-abiding gun owners. Again, we seem to get the brunt of it yet again. We get all the controls, all the restrictions, and now criminals can, like, easier than ever, get hold of their guns. So yeah, it's interesting, and I think finally the tide is turning away from people going, don't be stupid, don't be mad. I think a lot of you guys have seen enough of it now in the news. We had the first, I think it was last year, or no, a couple of years ago, we had the first conviction for 3D printing guns. That was 2 years ago, and things only ramp up from there. Isn't that just 3D printed parts though? Hand grips, magazines, except the already legal stuff. So yeah, I mean, we're only talking, I mean, this is why it's so significant in the US. I've just checked it. I don't know what you guys are smoking, but it is definitely blown out. I'm just going to adjust the lighting. You're probably all going to moan it's too dark now, but I don't see any benefit on having a blown out image and my eyes retina burned for the whole of the stream. So if it's too dark, then turn your brightness up. So yeah, what we talk. So yeah, we're only talking about sort of the licensed parts, the controlled parts, as it were. And that's why it's so significant in the US, where just the AR-15 lower is the licensed part. Well, everything else you can mail order to your door in the States. You can mail order a barrel, an upper, a bolt, a trigger, all the other components in the States. You can just mail order. The only thing you need to go into a gun shop or potentially do a background check for is the lower. So if you can print that and then bolt everything else to it, then happy days if you're in the States. And I think yes, we have some protection in the UK because the barrel is a licensed part, the bolt is a licensed part, the upper would be a licensed part along with the lower. People are already, again, coming up with ways around it. And a lot of people like to say to Luty, P.A. Luty, of course, I think he's almost like the grandfather of this movement. It was like, what can you do with just basic tools and knowledge, and it's an incredibly interesting story. I'm sure many of you know. Basically, a guy ended up in his shed making a submachine gun, ended up publishing the designs for it. They're still out there in the world today, and it was like the first sort of can't stop the signal sort of movement. It was like, look, again, what's the point of all these laws if somebody in a shed can just make a submachine gun? The thing that I think a lot of people overlook, and why 3D printers are so much more powerful and worrying, is you still need a reasonable amount of skill and knowledge to be able to even just follow instructions to make the Lutty submachine gun, or Luty, or whatever his name is, and time. You need tools, time, material. It's going to make noise. You need some skill. A 3D printer, it's got to the point now where they're auto leveling. They've got all sorts of sensors on it. For 300 quid, you plunk it on your desk, you put a file into it and go print, and it will print successfully. I mean, we bought for development at Magload, we bought a Prusa Mini, fantastic machine, and I think Connors must have had half a dozen FDM printers in his time, and I've used probably again about half a dozen myself, different types. And the Prusa Mini was the most easy to use printer out of the box that I've ever come across. It was just stick the filament in there and go. And we haven't yet had a failed print. Now, you can print a gun in, say, 24 hours, 48 hours, and you don't need to be there. Again, you can shove it in an attic, going away. You're not in the shed banging and sawing and all that. You're not leaving physical evidence. You haven't got physical tools or physical parts, just the one that's on the printer. Snap it off the printer, go and do what you want to do with it, and then chuck it in the bin, melt it, or so on and so forth. So I think a lot of people underestimate actually the ease and also cost. Yes, it was the Luty, the PA Luty gun was using basic tools, but I would estimate that you were probably going to spend a lot more in materials and tools for the PA Luty gun than you would some filament and a 3D printer. Plus, again, like, I know this is sort of a crazy thought to think of, but a 5-year-old can use a 3D printer quite easily and get the same results as a 40-year-old. I wouldn't imagine a 5-year-old is going to be able to go into their shed and make a PA Luty submachine gun. So yeah, I think it really does change the game. It's making it cheaper, easier, more accessible, and that's why the criminals are. That's why they're doing it. So sort of, there's going to be a little bit of a segue in terms of homemade guns, because there's quite a serious case here in the UK that I want to cover. We'll go on to that in a sec, but let's have a little look at what you're talking about. I think you're just talking amongst yourself as usual. So let's get straight into the next bit. So that's sort of let's say that's the main bit on 3D printers, but straight on from 3D printers into a homemade gun. Now this story it's made national news. It's quite a big deal, and it's not too far away from actually where I live, so a little bit worrying, but let's bring it up to you. I don't know if anyone saw this. So it's not so this is about actually I think the inquiry that happened. The actual incident happened the 5th of August, day before my birthday, the 5th of August last year. So I believe this is the culprit. Alex used a homemade shotgun during the attack. So what ended up happening, and I won't like read it word for word, is this individual, James Nash, was, I believe, shot in the face by a homemade shotgun, and I think the guy that shot him was a bit of a schizophrenic. He was a heavy drug user, had mental health issues, had previously been sectioned, and thought that James was some like Russian spy, and ended up becoming uber paranoid and just literally walked over to his house one day and shot him in the face. And this culminated in a 161 mile an hour chase. And I actually have the thank you Daily Mail. I mean, you steal everyone else's video, so I'm going to do it to you for once. And I'm going to show you this because like the bad boy police turn up in style at the end of it. So I mean, this guy's just like he's taking the piss. He's slowing down and waving at the helicopter, and yeah, ends up going on an absolute fucking joyride across the country roads. And it worries me because, like, well, of course anyone can be on these roads, but like it's not uncommon for me to be on these roads. So let's get it. He goes for an absolute tear at one point, and you can just tell even from the helicopter he's going for it. Oh, there we go. You know, some serious speed. So he ends up losing it, clips a car, ends up into a tree. Needless to say, I think the coroner actually said that his injuries were not conducive with life. Yeah, so you can sort of draw a picture of that. I mean, hitting a tree at 150 mile an hour. But here we go. Here's the bad boy police. Here are the guys you never want to turn up with. I mean, I love this guy. He's like, can you just imagine it, right? You've just witnessed a horrific accident, and that's like, you know, that's going to send anybody into shock, right? But at this point in time, he thinks it's just an accident, right? And it's probably just the traffic cops. But it's just how cool and collected he is when the fucking submachine guns come out. When the, you know, like, if I saw an officer with that gun running to me, I would be running the other way. You know, they've got the dogs, and he's just chilling there. You know, like, they don't send these boys out for just nobody. And that guy just, like, absolute balls of steel. But again, getting on to the whole PA Luti, 3D printed guns, this guy used a homemade shotgun. You know, this is unfortunately a crime, a murder, a horrific event that you just cannot legislate against. Because, you know, it's illegal to make your own guns. It's illegal to have a gun without certificate. It's illegal to have ammunition. Well, not shotgun ammunition. You can possess that without without a shotgun certificate. But it just goes to show, like, there is going to be this. I think we're going to reach this point where even the government go, our laws just aren't working anymore. You know, people are either making their own guns in their shed or they're 3D printing them. And this is just another. This story is an unfortunate addition onto this whole, you know, homemade guns, and getting around, effectively getting around gun control pretty successfully. Probably ex-military. Yeah, most likely. Always thought it was strange you didn't need an SGC to hold shotgun cartridges, SGC to buy a gun at shops, but you didn't know. Yeah, so I think that you do require a shotgun certificate to purchase them, but some people have told me in the past that that's not true, that you don't need a license, you don't need a certificate to be able to buy shotgun or Section 2 ammunition. But I think pretty much, even if that is the case, pretty much every gun shop out there is still going to ask for a shotgun certificate. Why would you be going and buying ammunition if you didn't have a shotgun certificate? And I know a lot of people say, well, you know, well, you might be meeting a mate at a playground. Well, why isn't your mate with you, or why aren't you buying the cartridges at the playground? So yeah, it's I mean, my personal experience, it was quite it seemed to be the only bit of firearms legislation that the firearms officers knew. But when I had my guns collected after the revocation, they're obviously clearing out everything, ammunition, the guns, and on top of my safes is where all of the shotgun ammunition was. And I had odds and sods of different cartridges and a couple of slabs, and the officer went to go and take them, and I sort of got in between him and the ammunition, and it was a bit like this sort of like half Mexican standoff where he's like, we're taking those, and it was his colleague, fortunately, that knew the law, that said no, he can be legally in possession of those still, even without a certificate. So I'm glad one of them knew what they were talking about, although neither of them could tell the difference between a shotgun and a rifle. It's a little bit concerning, but yeah, it is just an odd one. I guess it's that there's various needs in terms of farming, in terms of other uses of shotgun where they would need where somebody would need cartridges and not necessarily have the gun. You can still buy them incomplete. Yes, you can buy component parts as well for their guns. One day, can you do a video on blank fire guns? Yes. What would you like to know? I don't have a huge amount of experience personally with blank fire guns. I've used a few of them in my times. I do remember doing a theatrical performance at my college of West Side Story. That's right. I've got moves. I can't sing. That's why they sort of put me towards the back. But we had a blank fire gun for those of you, spoiler alert for any potential West Side Story fans. Somebody ends up getting shot, so we needed a gun to simulate that, and we had the fear of God struck into us about it, because a blank fire gun can still kill. They can still be lethal at the right or / wrong distance. So yeah, like no one apart from me wanted anything to do with this thing, but I think my keenness sort of made sure that it wasn't allowed anywhere near me, because I'd be but yeah, I can talk about blank guns, do a video on those. You've heard they are fine to own without a license and can be delivered because they cannot be converted. I mean, there is evidence of guns being converted for them, but certainly modern blank firers, there are various things they do to them that makes it nigh on impossible for them to be converted. I don't know about the shipping or being delivered, but as far as I'm aware, yes, you don't need a license. I believe you need to be over the age of 18. I think you can have them delivered to your door, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they still have to be like a vibrant colour, sort of like the Yukara rules. But yeah, that's sort of my knowledge on blank firers. But I can do I'll make a note. I'll write it down. I can do a bit of research, find out what I find out a bit more information, and I can do a video for you guys. Let's say laws. A video that I've been trying to make for a while, and it's just doing my head in, is actually around black powder. And the differences of black powder and pyrotex and other smokeless propellants. I've got like 10 tabs open. It's so convoluted. There's so many different elements to it, and I still haven't got a proper grasp of it myself. So that's one that's still in development. I will get it done at some point. Blank firers are typically made of zinc alloy that grenade if you try to fire live ammunition through them. That could be a test. Maybe that's what we do the video. We see actually no, that's definitely going to end up with me in prison. So for any beer fans this evening, I've splashed out. I've gone for some Beavertown Lupaloid. And I've just realised it's a 6.7%. So luckily it's only a 330ml. And I've only got one of them. I do have another. I'm going to say it's a lighter beer, slightly lighter. So yes, you can same aisle that I get the usual stuff available in Sainsbury's. Really highly, I really like this one, the Lupaloid or whatever it is from Beavertown. And this is one I'll be on next, which is their Gamma Ray. This is my favourite one of all of them. It's a American Pale Ale, 5.4%. So yes, I'm enjoying this one this evening. Slightly nicer than the Sainsbury's own brand, although the Sainsbury's own brand is pretty good. Tony Butterworth, hi. Are you still using the Section 2 semi with the extended tube to simulate the Section 1 semi with an extension tube? Is it worth doing, or is it better to use a Section 2 as a 2+1 and worry about Section 1 with a semi and a +9 later? So Tony, I think you've emailed me. I do have your email flagged to to get back to you, but I'll answer your question now for you. So in the video, in previous videos, I've talked about putting an extended tube on a 2+1, and a big thanks Sam. I'll get onto your question in a sec. I'll just finish this one. So what I've done in the past is I've put the extended tube on. This doesn't de-restrict it, so I'm not converting it to a Section 1, It's purely just putting the tube there to be able to simulate the swing and simulate the size of or length of a section 1. And using a section 2 with an extended tube, it means you become more familiar with that size and length of gun, to maneuver around barricades, and also the way the gun swings. You start putting something out front further than the barrel, it is going to affect the swing. What I did originally, which was a huge mistake in hindsight, is I put dummy carts in the tube to even simulate the weight of a full tube. Again, a 2+1 fully loaded versus a section 1 fully loaded, it is a significant weight difference, and also because that weight's all out front, it seriously affects the swing of the gun and you know, your shot to shot. So I wanted to do that, and then found out that it just it acted like a buffer. So where the Stoker M3000 is an inertia gun, it works off of the inertia of the energy of that of the round going off and the bolt coming back to cycle it. And what these rounds were doing is operating as a buffer, and it was soaking up all the energy, which meant the gun wouldn't cycle. So the extended tube, I still highly recommend putting on a 2+1 to simulate still the length, but don't put any weight in it. If you start putting weight in the front, it will act like a buffer, and you'll start getting malfunction. So yeah, but the tube, I really do think anybody that's currently as a section 2, you should be doing it. If your plan is to go to a section 1 unrestricted shotgun, then get that tube on there, get used to the feel of the gun, and it means that it's going to be a much more natural transition over to the section 1. And a lot of people now, they're buying section 2s and then converting them to section 1, so it will be exactly the same gun, and it means you've already got the tube there. So the day that you get your FAC through, you can go down to the shop and just have it converted straight over. You don't have to wait for an extended tube or order one in or have one made. It's ready to go, and you are 100% familiar with the gun. So still recommend it, just don't put any weight in it. And Sam, really appreciate the support. What's the score with Canons in the UK? I know they are legal, but what are the restrictions? Again, I'm not a Canon expert, unfortunately. There is definitely going to be a tipping point at which they become illegal. There is a guy that is a huge sort of Canon head, a guy called Richard Bray. I actually did a video with him with Gunroom TV, where he's a Paralympian, or he's an aspiring Paralympian. Fantastic guy. He's really focusing and going for the top, and I support him in all of that, in his aspirations. But he's also, as well as being I think it's a 10-meter air rifle shooter, he loves his Canons, and he was showing me all of these different pictures. Now I'm sort of waffling because I don't know exactly what the restrictions are, what the requirements are. But if you think about what sort of shotguns you can own, you can go down to, like, I've seen like low as like 4-bore guns floating about being used at various shooting shows. That's a big bore. Well, a Canon is a smooth bore. It's effectively a shotgun. It is if you have it at the right length, you can get a Canon on a shotgun certificate, which is absolutely mental. It's because we're British, and every a British man's home is his castle, and every castle needs a Canon. So no, I don't know the full legislation, but I'll add it to the list. I can do a Canon video, and again do some research. I'll probably just message Richie and get some advice from him, because he goes to like all the Canon Association meets, and he meets up with loads of Canon enthusiasts. So yeah, I'll look into that, Sam, but sorry I can't give more of a detailed answer today. But they are legal. Well, you said that they are legal. Let's see if anybody else can give you a better answer. Josh, how does the law view historical firearms such as the Brown Bess musket? I'm somewhat tempted to see if I could visit a shooting range and cycle through firearms up to a bolt action. So historical is a very vague sort of term. There are, and it's recently come, I can't remember what they've changed it to, but there are sort of obsolete calibers certainly are you're able to own off ticket. They have recently changed the list of what is constitutes as an obsolete caliber. In terms of antiques, again, if it's an old gun and it is classed under the various conditions of what an antique is, again, you can own it off ticket. But if you want to go and shoot it, anything you want to go and actually use as a gun would still have to be on a license. So the reason antiques are exempt is because it's a curiosity, it's an item of interest, it's a wall piece or a desk piece. It's not intended to be used or fired. So there are some sort of exceptions where they will allow you to own potentially viable guns, historical guns, but you won't need a license for it. But in terms of sort of muskets and black powder and all that, they are under Section 1, most of them, and again, there's a huge presence about it within the UK. You can legit make an FAC rated firearm from bits you can buy on Amazon and eBay. Yep. No, absolutely. PewDiePie. Didn't know PewDiePie was into his guns. Oh no, it's PewDie. Oh no. No, it's not PewDiePie, is it? It's PewDie. That's definitely a different tone right there. I mean, straight port AK kind of sucks because the charging handle is on the right hand side. Fun story, I've watched someone scope themselves before. I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the live stream. Guy wanted to test fire an AK straight pull that he was thinking of buying, collapsed the stock and put it right up against him. Needless to say, there was a lot of blood. Do you think that what Bill of Basque about the Bill of Rights will stop American gun nutters from talking about it to the British population to get rid of gun control? You said through the courts now. So Stephen, it, like you say, American gun nutters, like, I don't want to generalize there. I'm sure there are a few American gun nutters out there, but actually, and I'll get onto this in a bit. I've been had a really long chat with a few let's say pro-gun Americans earlier on. They're not all nutters. Like, it's just a very different culture. You know, people are brought up with guns. It's all, you know, the guns are ingrained in American culture. If we think that as being gun nuts, then, you know, whatever, but I don't think it necessarily is. The majority of people that I've had contacted me about the Bill of Rights is from the UK. It's people in the UK, and to be honest, I really think it's most likely let's say people that have an amateur interest in the Bill of Rights and maybe an amateur interest in history and our constitution, and this is what usually causes the most messages and most emails about the Bill of Rights, is people that are enthusiasts and are very interested in the Bill of Rights. They think that, oh, here we go, here's a way to get guns, and oh, here's another channel, you know, English Shooting, let's tell him about it. And every time I just go, like, yeah, it's a nice theory, but has it been proven? Are you going to go and prove it? No, but I thought you'd want to know. And I'm like, but this isn't, and I mean no disrespect to those people. I'm sure there's some very intelligent, knowledgeable and well thought out people out there that have this view, but a lot of the time I just feel it's just people just reading the wrong end of the stick, maybe being easily led down a path and don't really understand it, as it were. Like, I don't fully understand everything 100% of the time, but I wouldn't be going around so adamantly telling people something that is quite obviously wrong. You know, the Bill of Rights has been talked about as a defence, as Bill Harriman from Basque was saying. People have been trying to use this argument since 1996. So we're talking, 25 years, and it hasn't been successful. Like, if there was something behind the Bill of Rights that we could use for firearms ownership, I think over the previous 25 years, we would have used it. And I don't say that like happily. I would love to be proven wrong. I would love for there to be some substance to it where, it completely turns everything on its head, and, we're in, or let's say it's going to be some very interesting times. Great, but I just really don't. I think the fact that no one has goes to prove it doesn't. But yeah, it's not necessarily US. It's mostly UK people that get in contact with me about it. Wonderloaf, thank you very much. Really appreciate the support. Again, guys, all the support, all the donations that go straight back into the running of the channel. And if you want to get something for your money, there is of course EnglishShooting.org. So you can go and buy some merch. You can get a hat, you can get patches, which are behind me, and stickers and various other swag. And I'm going to be adding to that very, very soon. I've got a few things in the works. But yeah, thank you much. But if you just want to, give the money directly without any merch, then fine. It still goes to help the channel. Shadow 2's are no use. The Springfield XD is a superior firearm. That's a bit random, Wonderloaf. I would have. I mean, you obviously really want to get that out there. Yeah, I don't really know what to say to that. I'm more of a Glock man myself. I'm more of a PPQ man myself. Like the PPQ. Eric Chambers, Bill of Rights is open to interpretation at the end of the day. Like most court hearings, it's how the judge interprets the law and the rules. And this is actually the exact argument that I've been using for a long time, which is it doesn't matter what you think is the law, it's what the courts think are the law. It's what the judges and also what the jury believes is the law. So, you've got to, at the end of the day, be able to convince somebody that what you're saying is the truth. And well, if you can't do that, then you're up shit's creek without a paddle when you're going to prison. So yeah, had an interesting afternoon. I'll bring up the gun shop. So I was contacted by the guys from the gun shop show. Apparently, a few people that subscribe and watch English Shooting, they were watching their show and sort of said that they should get in contact with me and have a bit of a chat. So they did. I can't really find a good. I'll just bring up their webpage. I would go and check them out. Go and subscribe, because there'll be a video of us talking about all things guns very soon. So they are on YouTube. So it's called the Gun Shop Show, and they are based at Liberty Tree Guns. And I did actually have a look at the. I just want to show you their YouTube channel. I think it's the Liberty Guns YouTube channel. Like every time that because it was like done like a radio show and there's various breaks. Every time I saw this intro, I did just have to think about Connors and I. Like, this is how I imagine us running a gun shop. But yeah, so yeah, it's just a little chat show. It goes out, I think, on local radio and other channels. So if go and subscribe to those guys and keep an eye out for the video that's coming out soon. So it's Liberty Tree Guns. Yeah, I should hopefully be appearing on that very soon. So this was sort of pre-recorded, and it was very interesting. Probably a lot of stuff that you've heard from me in the past. I sort of talk about the process of getting your certificates and my experiences that I've had in terms of losing the licenses and the issues that I've had. We talk a little bit about self-defense. I know, whoop whoop whoop. But it's in that context, they're asking me, they're allowed to have self-defense, and they're asking me what the state of play is, and I'm just answering to them. And I think at the the end, and this is the only time I've ever heard this said to me, is you've really opened our eyes and blown our minds. And they were like genuinely in shock about like pretty much most of the things that I was telling them, in terms of I told them about a story of a guy that FEO turns up at for a impromptu inspection. He's not there. His wife is there. Wife knows where the keys are to the safe, and to save the FEO coming back, offers to open up the safe so that she can have the FEO can have a look. And I told him, that guy lost his licenses. You're not allowed to give access to any. You're not allowed to give access to your safes to anybody that doesn't have a certificate and doesn't have lawful authority to have access to it. And they were just like stunned silence. They were like, wait, so you can't even tell your wife where the keys are to your safe? And I'm like, nope. He's like, but that's like, your spouse is the person you should be able to trust most in the world. I'm like, absolutely. But the police don't see it that way. And it's the little things like that. They were they were incredibly sort of grateful for sort of, I think, explaining things how things were here, but it was really, really fun. I really hope that we can do it again sometimes, because I came off and I was like, oh, I didn't tell them about this, or I didn't tell them about that, and all these like really like big differences between UK and US gun laws. So yeah, again, keep an eye out, the gun shop show. Great bunch of guys, and I looked up where they were, and it's quite easy for us to build in stopping off at their actual shop when we go out to Kentucky in October and when we do our big tour. So I'm gonna drop them an email later this evening or tomorrow, give them a big thanks for having me on, because it was interesting talking to them, and I learned things as well, because the guy's an FFL, so there's a lot that he knows about gun laws, and we're again talking about differences, and yeah, I'm gonna drop him a line and see if we can actually go meet up in person when I'm out there in October, which will be absolutely awesome. What are you talking about? At this point, still not possible to 3D print barrel. It is easier to produce a barrel using carbon fiber technology. I disagree. I absolutely disagree. Again, I'm not going to talk about the processes, but there is a way to create a rifled barrel with a 3D printed barrel. There's also various inserts and stuff like that, but again, I don't want to talk about that too much. But no, it's very much possible, trust me. And metal 3D printers, again, once they become more accessible to the consumer market, job done. What are you guys talking about? Nothing much. Some other big news this week that came out of Basque. They've been doing this every year for a little while now, and I will be making a full video on this, because again, like, it's one of the most common questions that I seem to get. How long will my certificate take? And unfortunately, and I don't intend to be rude to anybody when I retort this way, but I say, how long's a piece of string? It really is that sort of question, because it varies by force. I don't praise Basque that much, but fair play. This is actually one of the things they do, which is incredibly useful. And they've basically done a league table of firearm license departments. So you can see how long on average. So it's the table below shows the average number of days a police force takes to process different application types. The figures are color coded to indicate relative performance. So you've got green a top 10, red a bottom 10, and yellow is average. And where I scroll to straight away, and actually to my surprise, Hampshire is up there. They're in the top 10. But you can see, again, I'll be doing a full video on this, but you can see the disparity, and this is why it's so hard to give somebody a time frame. So let's try and find the quickest. So Cambridge is the quickest so far, 20. Can anyone better 20? We've got 20. Nope. So 20 days was the fastest. I mean, they do shotgun certificates in 19 days. And I mean, Bedfordshire can do 18 days. That's mental. 18. That's 2.5 weeks. That's pretty. I'm just going to send them some chocolates just because they're awesome. So anyway, here's the disparity, right? Let's just stick to firearm certificates. You've got 20 as the quickest. Now, who are the worst? You got Avon and Somerset 161. No one can better that by the looks of thing. So that's actually really convenient because they're right next to each other. So same processes, bearing in mind there's no like different processes. Like every firearms department needs to process the application to the guidance issued by the Home Office. So really they're all doing the same job. It should take roughly the same amount of time. You can imagine there to be some differences, but to have a 141-day difference between the best and the worst, this is why it's so hard to gauge. So what's 180 days. So that Avon and Somerset are taking nearly 6 months to process your application. Cambridgeshire are doing an FAC application in under a month. You know, it's like, this is why it's so difficult and so hard to gauge how long it's going to take. Richard RC, I'll get to your question in a sec. I'll just finish up on that, but this is again another common question, so I'll jump onto it and hopefully give you some light on it. But they don't just do the grants; they're doing coterminous grants. See, that's a bit odd, if I'm going to be honest. Why does a coterminous grant take less time than just an FAC grant? Like, there's no sort of logic or reason, right? Gee, I didn't even spot that. So, what? So Cambridgeshire can do a coterminous in 16 days. That's the average. So wait, if that's the average, then they must be doing some applications in like a week, 2 weeks. 3 days, 2 days. Oh, I'm going to... Right, so Bedfordshire, Cambridge, Cleveland. Is that Cleveland? I don't... like, I want to move there. Cambridgeshire's not too far up north. Essex, Jesus. I mean, like Hampshire, it's pretty good. You're still looking 2 months. It's been a lot longer than that for mine. They obviously don't like variations, but a variation in 2 days, that's insane. So yeah, again, it goes to show you. Look, you got there 2 days, 24 days, 24 days, 6 days. It's very hard to give any indication, but I will be doing a full video on that, so keep an eye out on the channel for that. But onto Richard's RC. Thank you for supporting. Thanks for the donation. Can having autism stop you from having a firearm certificate or a shotgun certificate? It can, but it's not an automatic no. And it's sort of the same thing as mental health issues, which are again, it's a sort of how long's a piece of string. Like, everybody's different. Every mental health issue is different. It's different in the way it affects you, in its severity, and overall the risk it would potentially pose to somebody else or the public. The absolute best person to speak to in terms of gauging whether it's going to be an issue for your application is going to be your GP. The police are not medical experts. Is actually something that I talked to the guys at the gun shop show. Like, the GP forms, whilst it creates another hurdle, it costs more money, and it can delay your application. It certainly delayed mine. So it's not necessarily a great thing overall for the application process in terms of speed and efficiency, but there is one big silver lining, which it has most definitely put the ball firmly in the court of the doctor to make that call. The police are not medical experts. They are not qualified experienced or trained in being able to ascertain whether somebody's autism, whether they're depression or anxiety or other mental health issues or other learning difficulties or disabilities are going to affect them, right? That's down to your GP, that's down to your doctor. So the best thing to do is to have a chat with your doctor. See if you can book a 5-minute or 10-minute call, or even just email them and explain, look, I know that I'm autistic. I know that that may produce a problem going for a shotgun or firearm certificate. But what do you feel? As my GP, given that you know my medical records, given that you know me, would you have any objections or any concerns with me applying for a firearm or shotgun certificate? And if your GP, if your doctor turns around and says no, the police don't really have a lot to argue against, because again, it's your GP. Now, the GPs didn't... This is one of the main reasons that a lot of GPs kicked up a stink about this, because it's making it their call. They are then the ones responsible. If something does happen, the blame is going to come back to them. So it is a huge responsibility, and this is why I understand your local doctors charging 60-80 quid to do it. It's a lot of their time to be able to sit through your full records and check for any flags or any signs, but also there's a risk there, and there shouldn't be a risk without a reward. So at least covering their time, I think, is more than fair. I don't have a huge objection to that fee, especially if it ends up making things a lot safer. You're having a full, rather than the previous system, which was the police would just sort of send a letter off to the doctor and say, let us know if we should take the certificates back off of this guy because we've just given him some guns. Now it's like, right, your doctor needs to give the okay before. So yeah, talk to your doctor. But yeah, it's not an automatic no. Neither is depression, neither is anxiety, neither are other mental health issues or learning disabilities. I'm heavily dyslexic. I know, comparing autism to dyslexia, they're completely different things. To be honest, I don't think you could ever be dyslexic to the point of being a danger to the public. What's the worst thing you're going to do? Like walk into a ladies' bathroom instead of a men's and go, oh, I couldn't read it. It's or go through a stop sign. It said go. Oh yeah, that's how you spell stop. So yeah, I hope that helps, and again, thank you for your support of the channel. Rich West's best stats for 2020 listed average time for a coterminous grant with the Met as 92 days. You're 9 months and counting. Guess you're an outlier. Yeah, so I don't know how much COVID has skewed this, whether or not they've taken they've taken that into account, or whether it is as it stands. I mean, I'm just having a quick look. So 2019 Hampshire for an FAC was 47 days average, and for a shotgun certificate was 50 days. And then this year they were 55 and 59, so they have increased. I'll be doing a full video. It does look, if I'm going to be honest, it does, just as a very quick glance, it does look like pretty much every single one of them has gone up. So I think that is actually taking into account COVID. But yeah, Rich, perhaps it's because they know that you're a big fan of the channel. Sorry. Callum, you stated your FAC was revoked due to a false allegation against you. Are you at liberty to say what the false accusation was? If not, we understand some things must stay private. I am at liberty. I can talk about it, but it doesn't involve just me. And this is what I've said before, is it involves somebody else, and it's about not bringing them into things. But as much as I would like to sort of put out there on like, although saying that I have fully fucking blurbed it before in a group, but I'm not going to tell you which group, and I'm not going to tell you where, but it is out there in the ether. But what I will say is it was an allegation of assault. It was an evening at a pub. Things got a little bit out of hand, and then somebody phoned the police and said that I was trying to assault them, or I was trying to kill them, or something like that. And obviously the police take those sorts of allegations very seriously. I was of course arrested, spent a night in the cell, and then it was I was let go with no further action. Basically the police knew there was no substance to the allegation. The accuser had no marks on them. It was quite obvious what the situation was to them, knowing the full story from both sides. And I was let go the next morning with no further action. But that is what triggered the initial revocation of the certificates. And I know a lot of people will go, well, where does the Paris video come in to all of this? Well, so what happened is, wake up from the night in the cells, not the best night's sleep, I have to say. Had my interview. The guy was pretty much like, look, nothing's going to happen with this, but we need to go through the processes. So I was like, okay, cool. And I knew it was coming. I knew there was going to be some mention at some point, and it was like, right, well, we need you to voluntarily surrender your firearms for the purpose of your firearm certificate for the purpose of review. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, you're letting me go with no further action. You're not bringing any charges to me. There's no conviction here. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm innocent. But what you're saying is that I'm not innocent. And he was like, well, no, it's just run of the mill. We have to do this. And I said, okay, well, I'm actually meant to be filming in Bisley today. And this was generally the conversation. I'm meant to be filming in Bisley today. Is there any chance that you could phone Hampshire Firearms? I could go there, they could come here, I could speak to somebody on the phone and just try and clear this out. Look, I'm not a danger. I'm not going to go out there and do anything silly. I just want to go shooting today. I want to go filming. I was meant to be filming the whole week at Bisley. And he was like, okay, cool, I'll go and see what I can do. Came back and said, you have failed to comply to our request to voluntarily surrender your firearms, so we are revoking your licenses. And I was like, whoa. I didn't say no. Like, I asked if the review could take place today, or it could take place now, rather than me having to like lump up all my guns and hand them in, or whatever. It could just be sorted out today. But anyway, they took that as a refusal, which was honestly not my intention, and they revoked the licenses. So the Paris video, obviously you get a chance to appeal, and I was unsuccessful. And where the Paris video comes in is, I get into court, and we start, and very quickly on, I realise that this has nothing to do with the arrest. It has nothing to do with the allegation. It was talked about. Though it certainly was a part of it, but the overbearing element of that appeal was the non-mainstream views. The reason I was unsuccessful is it was because of my reluctance to accept that my views were anything other than mainstream. That's the exact what's the word, verbatim of the judge. It was my inability to I just said it, to but basically non-mainstream views. I was called a fanatic, or like an extremist. They talked about vigilantism and all that, and it became very clear that the arrest was the opportunity, right? The arrest was the opportunity for them to take them, and then it was all about the Paris attack video after that. And then 2 years later, I go to reapply. So this is 3 years ago now. I reapply, and again, I'm talking to the head of Hampshire Firearms. Nothing about the allegation, nothing about the arrest. It is all about the channel. It's all about the opinions, the views, the content, and it just, like, it's quite obvious. The reason that I don't have firearm certificates today is because of the previous videos that I've talked about self-defense, is the previous views that I've put out there, the previous topics that I've tried to open up conversation on, and they don't like it. And let's not forget that Hampshire is one of the most anti-gun counties there is. It was previously headed up by Mark Gruthius, who went and headed up a department in Nabis, and was the guy that ended up saying to the parliamentary committee around the offensive weapons bill that 50 cals had an effective range of 6 miles, right? Mark Gruthius is as anti-gun as they come, right? And yet he used to head up Hampshire Firearms. That doesn't sit right with me. And it was also Mark Ruthius that was in my appeal. It's the guy I effectively went up against in my appeal. So, you know, he was the head of Hampshire Firearms at the time. And yeah, I do really feel there was certainly an element of, look, this guy's getting loads of people into the guns. We don't like that. We don't want to be giving out applications. So let's make an example of him. And I've put my hands up and said a million times, you know, that evening I was arrested, and certainly the Paris attack videos, there are things I would do a hell of a lot different now with hindsight. I've learned from those experiences and those mistakes that I've made. I do think it's just getting to the point now of being a little bit ridiculous that I'm not allowed to have a firearm or shotgun certificate, especially as I, you know, worked in a gun shop for 12 months. You know, I was a servant of a gun shop. You know, it's a bit like, you know, if I really wanted to go and do something bad with a gun, I've had plenty of opportunities over the past 5 years whilst I haven't had licenses, and it's like I just want to get on with things now. But yeah, anyway, I hope that explains explains it. But yeah, any chance you could do a quick overview of what was the discussed regarding 3D printing? Yeah, so obviously it is the main topic, so I'm sure people joining us wondering, right, what the fuck are we talking about? It's meant to be about 3D printers. So the main story, I'll bring it up again, sorry for anybody that's stuck through the live stream so far and has already seen this. So the main article that we're talking about and that led to the video this evening was this: Spain dismantles workshop making 3D printed weapons, and there's a good video. I won't do the intro to it again, pulling Bob out of the corridor. So basically this is what they found. They found they found viable firearms being 3D printed, and for anybody that isn't aware, the 3D printer they were using, I just want to see that AR. Bear with me, guys. I thought I recognized something. Did they give a better look at it? Oh, they do. Oh no, it's not. I just from that angle, I thought that was a magload safety. It was like, oh, that's not going to be a good look, is it? But anyway, so they found these. They found this gun factory. We didn't get this far last time. So here we go. Viable firearms being 3D printed. Now, to be fair, that does look to be using a normal slide, but they're 3D printing frames. There you go. So that looks maybe like a MakerBot, some sort of rep wrap, but that's a Prusa. And I can actually show you how do I do it? Let's bring me back for a second. I'll show you the website, because if you're like obviously not for printing, please no one go and print guns. Like, just don't do it. This is purely as a bit of news, a bit of discussion point. But if you are in the market for a 3D printer, if you want to dip into it, then I cannot recommend Prusa enough. So I'll show you the one that we got for Magload for development. Well, the latest one we got for development. We got a number of them. It's the Prusa Mini. I mean, there you go, £333, right? There is a bloody long wait time for them because they're so popular. But yeah, that's not the exact 3D printer there. This is what they were using. It's probably an older version of it, but again, this is a pretty so that's the S. So that's made, so you can get it made, you can get it sent to you unassembled and you build it yourself. So this is pretty much the printer that they used at that Spanish one. 700 quid, you know, so it's not a silly amount of money. there you go. You can probably recognise it now because of the orange. Oh, they did have the dual one as well. I think actually that is the exact one that they had. But these are cracking 3D printers. Like, so at least they had good taste. So yeah, the general premise and sort of overview of you know, the whole topic of 3D printers is that 3D printing art is undermining gun control. You know, everyone likes to quote P.A. Lutey and say, well, people have been doing this, they've been making slam fire shotguns, have been making guns in their shed like P.A. Lutey for many years. The difference with 3D printers is the cost, and the ease, and the lack of skill required. You can download some files, stick it on a 3D printer, and press go. A 5-year-old could start 3D printing guns. And this is why, for me, 3D printers have completely changed the discussion of homemade firearms, because not everybody has a workshop. Not everybody has the tools even to make a P.A. Lutey, or even the ability to follow simple step-by-step instructions. So, you know, some people can't put IKEA furniture together. You know, do you really think they're going to be able to make a homemade submachine gun? But a 3D printer, and now, you know, 5-6 years ago when we first started talking about this topic, 3D printers were, like, whilst they were getting a lot better, you still needed a lot of knowledge and experience to really get them working to their best. But like the Prusas, they come with so many sensors now, so many auto adjustments, that you get such good consistent print straight off the bat that, again, you can just order one, you know, a Prusa Mini for £300, delivered to your door within, if you get the assembled one, within 10-15 minutes you'd be printing stuff like flawlessly. So where do we go from here? And I really don't think anyone has an answer. It is like 3D printers are banging down the wall of gun control, and I don't say that in a good way. You know, this is what I was saying earlier as well, is I support licensing. I support, in the UK, making sure that people have adequate experience and knowledge and are competent with firearms and will not pose a danger to the public. And 3D printers just straight away removes that. It's a gateway for criminals. You know, what happens if we really do have like every criminal out there running around with a 3D printed gun? Well, straight away, all of the police are going to need to be armed. You know, it's like this. No one really, at the moment, I think there's a relatively good, roughly, status quo with guns in the UK. Yes, I think we should be able to own handguns. Yes, I think we should be able to own semi-automatic full-bore rifles. But I think the licensing system is, apart from the counties that take 160 days on average to process licensing, it does a very good job. Look, we've learned from the lessons of the past, and I think, apart from the banning, the further checks, the further requirements to get a certificate has done a lot to make sure that a lot of unsuitable people don't easily get hold of a gun. Yes, they can now just go and buy a 3D printer and undermine all of it, which for me is what the worry is. Taser costs £3 to make, yet still illegal. Yep, but then you're gonna have a bad time with it, but we're not talking a gun. You know, it's it's you don't want people running around with the guns, do you? Like taser, like zappity, yeah, you're gonna have a bad time, but the guns and tasers slightly different. As there haven't been many major innovations since the 1960s or early in rifles, do you think the 3D printing scene will take the lead in innovation? Absolutely, 100%. I mean, if you want to look at it as a positive, David, like it's hobbyist, right? Computers came from hobbyists. The personal PC came from amateurs, right? It was Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in their garage, hand building, hand soldering motherboards, designing the PC, right? And like, I have two PCs sat in front of me, right? Everyone has a PC in their hand today. Like, the iPhone is a descendant of the original Apple One, and also Microsoft was made by kids. Bill Gates was effectively a kid, very smart kid, but it's the hobbyists that will always come out with the best innovations. And I think the reason why is because a hobbyist has no rules, right? They're not structured, they're not told this is the way you do it, this is the method. They just come at it from whatever angle they come at it, and whatever they find. And sometimes doing things wrong yield spectacular results. So yes, I think there's going to be a lot of innovation out of the 3D printed firearm community, and there's going to be some interesting designs. Not forgetting, and we talk about this all the time, that the majority of products that Magload sell are 3D printed. I think it's time for a shameless plug. So like, I'll take you through the Magload website. You can follow me through, although my really doesn't like going on the website for some reason. Come on, been streaming everything else. So let's have a quick look at the website and see what is and isn't 3D printed. So the belts, obviously the belts aren't 3D printed, but the buckle, so the what keeps the belt together basically, and also click, that is 3D printed. Granted, the printer that it's printed on is £160,000 worth, but it is still 3D printed. It's not something you're going to get on a desktop printer. The Nexus, the majority of the Nexus Pro is 3D printed. Yes, you've got aluminium bars, back plates, steel springs, but all of the plastic bits, it's probably not the best photo, black on black, but the top bits 3D printed, the middles 3D printed, and the bottoms 3D printed. Obviously, action bars are not 3D printed. The breech flag and breech flag holder 3D printed. John Jennings, definitely not 3D printed. 3D printed. Again, this is probably better. These parts here on the old original Nexus, 3D printed. Shot savers, 3D printed. PMAG stackable extensions, 3D printed. Semi-auto lifter, definitely not 3D printed. Another good photo of the buckle there. But the rifle part, certainly. The majority of these are 3D printers. All of the magwells are 3D printed. Again, you can see from the photo that's not a conventional sort of 3D print. There's no layer lines. They are it's actually stronger than injection molding. But all of these bits, so the upgrade kits for the 1522, the extensions, magwell, ambi, safety, breech flag, all 3D printed. You're sort of getting the idea now, I'm sure. Like, we like our 3D printing at Magload. Muzzle brake. So okay, it's not exactly a barrel, right? But a lot of you saying you can't 3D print a barrel, it's not viable. Well, we manufacture and make and sell a muzzle brake that is completely 3D printed, right? And we guarantee it for, let me get this right because I don't want to put it out there wrong. We guarantee it for 10,000 rounds. And just to show you, we did a 500 round burn test. There was a little bit of melt at the end of it, but you'll see the rate of fire that Connors goes with it. We had to stop because my hands were cramping up from loading. I mean, Connors is the one loading there, but I was the one loading while he was doing it. And we do a full oh yeah, I love this clip. You've probably seen it on the channel loads of times. This is what an efficient muzzle brake will do. This isn't ours, by the way. But yeah, full auto 223. It's the Cobalt Kinetics muzzle brake. Awesome bit of kit. But yeah, let's have a look at this. So it does speed up, but Connors put 500 rounds through as quickly as he could, as quickly as I could fill up the mags, and you can see we're using a lot of mags, and he's just dumping it. 500 rounds through it, no problem. Yes, there was a little bit of melt just because it was just an extreme situation. I would challenge anyone to put, you're not certainly on your own going to be putting in putting rounds through that quickly. So yeah, it can be done. So people saying that 3D printers, can't print barrels or anything pressure bearing. Well, we make a 3D printed muzzle brake. The only ones in the world, as far as we know, I'd like to add, 3D printed. Even on the handguards, whilst it's predominantly carbon fiber. Let's see if I can get a good photo of the nut. So this end piece here, this insert on the inside, that's 3D printed, and the actual nut that butts up against the gun is also 3D printed. That's a little bit too big. But yeah, that nut there, again on the end of the tube, 3D printed. And people will absolutely love the handguards. The shims are 3D printed, But that's enough of telling you how awesome Magload is. I'm sure many of you already know. Are you taking any special firearms equipment across to America for your trip? I think we will be taking some guns, if that's what you mean. It's actually not, as you would imagine, not too difficult to take guns out to America. John Jennings may be a cyborg. To be fair, I haven't seen the inside of him. Yeah. What's a breach flag? Well, I'll bring it back up. A breach flag is a safety flag. So in IPSC shooting, you need to show that your chamber is clear. So this is a 2-2 breach flag, and very usefully, I haven't actually shown one. I haven't got a picture here of it actually in the breach. There you go. There's another breach flag. So this is the 2-2 LBP. So you can see it's it's just a little rod that goes into the breech of the gun. Ours actually allows you to safely drop the hammer on it as well, which is, I know, been a problem for a lot of LBP shooters, but that's a breech flag. Basically, that if you see that in a gun, you know that there is something that isn't a bullet occupying the chamber, and therefore nothing can be fired out of the gun, and the gun can be considered safe. For any IPSC shooting, you need. I'm trying to see. I won't find it in rifle, but we also do a 12 gauge breech flag. Let's shop shotgun. Where is it? There's our click breech flag holder. Where's our actual 12 gauge breech flag? There we go. Oh, there's the rail mounted. I don't know if I've actually got a photo of it in a gun. Probably not. But anyway, it occupies a chamber, shows that the gun is clear, and you need it for IPSC matches between your while you're getting the gun out when it's not in the slip. Do it, Callum. Violate ITAR for the win. No. ITAR is like HMRC. You don't fuck with HMRC. Right, HMRC just operate on a whole nother level. Like, we think you're up to something no good. Freeze bank accounts. ITAR, you're fucking with Guantanamo Bay right there. Like, that's the sort of, they ship you off and you're never heard of again. No, nothing we would take there or bring back would in any way be ITAR restricted. But also, they have also recently loosened things up with it. But yeah, so you can bring through a lot more. Now it comes down whether a polite society in your eyes is an armed society, but I think Czechia and Switzerland are good examples, let alone the US. Yeah, I mean that was it was like a stark realization when I went to Utah. And I was talking to a local, and I just said, it's so nice. Like, I always love going to the States, and going to Utah, I was like, it's probably one of the most pleasant areas. And not to offend any non-Utahrians, but like everyone at Utah was just so welcoming and warm and friendly. And I said to someone, like, this is one of the most welcoming places I've been to in the States, and I was just so grateful for it. And they were like, yeah, of course we're friendly. It's like, why? It's like, because everyone's got a gun. Like, you're not, when you know everyone's got a gun, like, you buck your ideas up. You don't gob off. You know, you don't cause trouble because you know everyone's got a gun. Like, everyone is able to handle themselves, you know, be that like, you know, a 5'0" 90-year-old grandma, or, you know, an 18-year-old. Why does YouTube have captions on your live chats but almost no one else's? There's captions? Although someone, apparently YouTube, let's test it. Like, watch it now. Watch the captions now. Apparently, when I say English shooting, it translates it to English eating. Maybe I should turn it into a food channel. Jez Roberts, I'm after a mag extension at Magload. What mag extensions would you like? We do various ones. Are you talking about shotgun? You're talking about 1522 PMag? It's all available to order from the website anyway, magload.co.uk, and we ship worldwide. I can't stress that enough. That's like the #1 question we get. We ship worldwide, anywhere in the world. Yes, that includes the US, and anywhere in the US. I guess like we get a lot of questions like from Californians, especially about the mag extensions. Will you ship to the to California? And we're like, yeah, because shipping you a mag extension is not illegal. It's what you do with it afterwards, and what you do with it afterwards is not our concern. And actually, there's a lot of people that actually use our 1522 extensions not as an extension, but for like a base pad on the gun as well. So there's loads of, you know, legal reasons people would be using them. Nope, English shooting. Okay. I have a real problem when numpties walk around the ranges with a semi or pump 12 gauge outside the slip without a safety flag. Anyone else? Well, yeah, I mean, maybe when I first started shooting, it wouldn't, you know, you sort of don't know any better. But certainly now, and especially doing a lot of IPSC shooting, yeah, like it would bother me because I would never do it. I would never just walk around with a gun, you know, unflagged or unslipped. So yeah, no, it's not just you. Rich West, Magload get you hooked on Haribo. Buyer beware. We know what we're doing. We know, like, it's when you have a customer that, you know, they do like a big order, and then it will be like just a breech flag and just a spring and just some dummy carts, and you're like, you just want the Haribo, like, swear. Please can Magload do an oversized bolt release for the standard M2? Yes, the issue is, Dave, by the 1301 one. 1301 one. So the reason that we haven't yet done an enlarged one for the M2 is because the M2 requires tapping, so it's not a drop-on solution. But let me find the 1301 button. Bear with me. So we do one, obviously, I'm sure you know, we do one for the M2 SP, but that comes with this sort of dual screw design, enlarged button, so that can be bolted straight on. The 1301 just the 1301 comp already comes tapped. However, Dave, if you already have your M2 tapped, if the bolt handle, the bolt release is already tapped, you can still use this button. So there's the reason that this is the double feed button is because there are like 2 ramps on the underside of it. Again, I haven't taken photos of those, unfortunately, but there's these 2 little ramps. all you have to do with using it for an M2 is just take a Stanley or a scalpel or a bit of sanding paper and sand those nubs on the underside down so that it's completely flat, and then you can use this as an oversized button for an M2. Having said that, we know that people want like an out-of-the-box solution, so we have been trying that. But for the meantime, if you want to try this, we supply the screws, so all you have to do is tap the button, drill and tap it, and then you should be able to use this button. So it's the 1301 anti-double feed button, and just do those mods to it, and we do a range of colors as well. That's enough plugging. That's enough plugging. Unless anybody wants to invite me to plug some more. Shell Shock 1951. Hey, it's 2 L's, by the way. A lot of people make that mistake. I'm a two L'd Callum. But thanks for stopping by. Just as a reminder, I've just noticed we've almost got double the amount of people watching as we do likes. So sort it out. Like, hit that like button. Like, do you want YouTube to win? Do you want them to win? Then don't like it, right? It's all about overcoming the algorithm. And do we want more people in the sport? Do we want to reach more people and encourage them into the sport? Yes. So subscribe and like. Simple. It doesn't cost anything. It won't hurt you. I'll try and be good. And if you're new, if you're watching right now and you've been here for a while, subscribe. We do this every week. Get involved. Getting here a little late, assuming we've discussed the FGC9, the popular front video was good watching, with a little bit of a wake-up call to how it's progressed. Yeah, I'm not so keen necessarily on showing potential like sort of designs or anything on there. It's a very sort of touchy subject, this one. There we go. Much better on the likes. Good job, guys. More. I want more. Can we have Haribo for watching English shooting? Yes, so if you buy something from EnglishShooting.org, it may or may not come with Haribo. So then if you just order a cap every week, you get your Haribo, you sit there, you can watch the live stream. 100 likes to bring back Connors. No. we are working on it. It's just unfortunately the setup that we currently have. Share to our page. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Gummy bears for the chat watchers. Where is English merch available from? EnglishShooting.org. It's a new website. I did see somebody actually while we were live, or while we've been live. Someone placed an order, so thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. Here we go. Let's bring it. I'll bring up the website for you just so you know what you're looking for. Though it's pretty hard to mistake this for anything other than this channel's website. But yeah, new website. So you go on there, you can come straight through to the channel, straight through to all of the social media, and we've got merch. So there's a little shop on there. So you can get the hat. I've been threatening people for ages that I'd be selling the hat at some point. You get the OG patch. There's not actually that many left of these, but that is something I'm working on. New patch design I'll be getting through shortly. And you can also buy some sort of Magload swag and Magload bits as well. And the Magload caps if you want. 3 Circles, great book. If you want to like sort of better your mindset on shooting, 3 Circles, you can buy that directly from the English Shooting website. And again, a lot of there's a lot of Magload swag because that's what we've been working on the previous like couple of years, but I definitely want to get more merch on here. I know you guys like supporting the channel, like helping it, and I would like you to get something from helping it. And also, if you're looking at getting into shooting, I've compiled all, like, basically the only videos you'll ever need to watch to fully understand how to get shooting, how to get your application, how to get your firearm certificate, get your shotgun certificates. And I will be adding to this. There's a few more videos to add to it, but basically these 6 videos as it stands at the moment, you should in theory be able to watch all of these 6 videos and then be able to apply for your shotgun or firearm certificate. So yeah, that's the channel. And we've also got the Insta, So various icky wicks on there. Yeah, you can see, you know, various things are reviewed. The English shooting knife, which is actually behind me as I speak. Dan's is that his WMR? Yeah, it's his Aero WMR build. The quad of LBPs. You've got the K22 long barrel pistol. That is a one-off, I think 5-inch or 6-inch slide, 4-inch. Maybe that's 4-inch and that's the 5-inch. It's either 5 and 6 or 5 and 6 or 4 and 5. But they're both PPQs. And the OG long barrel pistol, the Browning butt mark. Yes, and if anyone that's come down to the office, you'll probably find out very quickly what waifu is. That's actually Connor's knife being made there, which is pretty cool. And the lick test. It's an important test that we always have to do on all guns. So anyway, that's EnglishShooting.org. And again, you can go and get some swag and merch and various stuff, and support the channel by getting a few goodies. There was one more thing. Not one more thing. There is another thing to talk about. Again, I think this might potentially be a full video sort of worth of a topic. Let me get to it. No, that's not it. We've already covered that. So this was announced, I believe, today. And the reason I want to potentially do a full video of this is because I, to be honest, don't fully understand it myself at the moment, and I'm not 100% on what the exact ins and outs of it are. But this was released. It was yesterday. Anyway, I only saw it today. Recording of information on firearms certificates by owners and registered firearms dealer. Now, it just sort of seems to repeat itself over and over and again, and it's all written in legal speak, and it's very hard to understand for somebody as dyslexic as I am. But the general gist, you can go, I think I shared this on the English Shooting Facebook page today, so you can go and if you want the link, head over to the Facebook page, and you'll be able to see it. So there's been a lot of threats about having to individually or serialize every pressure bearing or licensable part of a gun. Right, I think it was brought in terms of an EU directive. Of course, everything comes from the EU these days, but it was this directive about, you know, stopping, you know, criminals smuggling guns and, you know, building illegal guns from legal components, untraceable because certain parts weren't licensed. And basically there was this requirement, and I'm still not 100% sure if it's in effect. Actually, Otto from Cotswold Classic Arms is quite up to speed on this, but there was this real threat of having to individually or serial number every single pressure bearing component. So in the US, the only licensable component, as we were talking about earlier with 3D printers, is the lower of an AR. But in the UK, the barrel is controlled, the bolt is controlled, the upper is controlled, and the lower is controlled. So you have four for that one gun. You have 4 components. You would potentially have to put a serial number on and document. And of course, as the firearm certificate, as it's the structure of the actual physical certificate is at the moment, there isn't enough room to be able to write all of that in. So they're actually changing the they're changing the template of the firearm and shotgun certificate to enable people to be able to put down more information. But after reading through it briefly, and I will be checking with people that are a little bit more knowledgeable on this, but as far as I can understand, this doesn't say that you need to serial number every single component part. My understanding is that if there are any, I don't know, I'm changing my mind now. Because it says identifiable marks or identified marks. Like when I read it through earlier, it was like, here we go. The firearms, this is just the one paragraph that you guys need to know. I'll bring it up so you can read it with me. Come on, story time. The firearms rules 2019 amended firearms rules, get on with it. In respect of the information to be recorded by a registered firearms dealer in their register of transaction in order to implement the requirements of Directive EU blah 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 European blah, 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 amending Council on control of the acquisition and possession of weapons. They're firearms, not weapons. Technically what you're saying there is that we all have weapons and therefore are instantly breaking the law, but anyway, that included recording the unique identifying mark of firearms and shotguns and relevant component parts, explains the requirements in more detail. See, I read that included recording the unique identifying mark of firearms, shotguns, and relevant components. To me, that doesn't say you have to add a unique identifying mark to every component. You just have to record every unique identifying mark. So how I read it earlier is that this isn't like everything needs to be serial numbered, everything needs to have a unique identifying mark. But if there is a component within the gun that has a unique identifying mark, or is certainly different to the serial number of the gun, then you would have to record it. And I think a lot of people on Facebook were talking about the most common one being like Benelli shotguns. Apparently the barrel serial number never matches with the receiver. So that would be an example where you have two different unique identifying marks, and you would now I think this all comes in on the 7th of May. So as of the 7th of May, if you have let's say a Benelli shotgun with a different serial number on the barrel and a different serial number on the receiver, then you would have to record both of them. But let's actually like Benelli semi-auto is a good example. So within the shotgun there would be 3 licensable or controlled components. You'd have the barrel, the receiver, and also the bolt. Now I think they do serial number the bolts, but let's just say the bolt isn't serial numbered. As far as I'm reading this, if the barrel had a serial number and the receiver had a serial number and the bolt didn't, you would only have to record the serial number of the barrel and the serial number of the receiver. But I might be wrong with that. Again, the way that they write these legal announcements and documents, it's not easy understanding it. So I will be referring to more experienced people, and I will be doing a video explaining the ins and the outs. So it's definitely something that we need to be aware of. Also, something to make clear before everyone sort of starts panicking is this isn't going to be retrospective. So if you have an old style firearm certificate, you're not going to be required to sort of keep up to the new legislation. But obviously, if you have a reissue, if you have a variation or something like that, and your certificate is changed, then you'll be on the new one. So it's going to be a clusterfuck. Like, you know, it's going to be a clusterfuck straight away. New legislation, new processes, new documentation. It's going to be a clusterfuck. No one's going to be ready for it. Certainly not the firearms licensing, and as we know, they're already taking a long time, aren't they? So anyway, I'm sure we get it. Yeah, what do you guys think? Why is the lower numbered not pressure bearing? Because is the lower pressure bearing? No, it's not. But it is. It's a good point, actually. It's a good point. You got me thinking now. It might actually be. It might actually be because of America. So the majority of ARs come in from the States, like the 1522, which is probably the most popular AR style gun in the UK. It's American, right? And in America, they deem the lower to be the firearm. So perhaps in the UK law, the lower wouldn't need to be serial numbered because it's not pressure bearing. That's actually a really good point. There's somebody that I know that might know the answer to that, but it might be a case of that it is, whilst it's not pressure bearing, it is fundamental to the functioning of the gun. Yes, I know a trigger would be as well. I don't know. I think it's either the fact that Americans always put the serial number on the lower, and therefore when they come over here, that's where the serial number is, or it might be a case of that they deem it so fundamental to the functioning of the gun that they want that part controlled as well. Lower takes recoil force but is not pressure bearing. More to the point, do they have no? Not Callum's phrasing, Hampshire polices. What? What's Hampshire police? Do FEOs have the ability to record all these serial numbers? This is why they're making the change. So this was one of the arguments that was brought forward when the EU was talking about bringing in this legislation, bringing in making people serial number every pressure bearing part. Everyone looked up and go, yeah, good luck with doing that in the UK, because you've got a pissy little box to write everything in. So this is why they've changed it. They've changed it so that you are able to put down all the serial numbers of all the different components. So yeah, will it stop crime? Will it stop crime? Yeah, just makes it a lot more inefficient to be able to issue out guns and licenses, and for law-abiding citizens to be able to shoot. That's how a coroner records it officially. Agreed. It's a bit of an odd phrase. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Oh, there we go. Oh, yes, the rephrasing death to not conducive to life. Yes, it's yes minister level. No, I like you do have to understand it that whilst this guy was obviously a bit of a shithead, like he still has a family, right? And how do you describe it? It wasn't necessarily describing the death of this guy, it was describing his injuries, and his injuries were described as not conducive to life. And it's a lot better than saying that his face is now more of part of his body, or he probably hit a tree flying head first at in excess of 100 mile an hour off of a motorbike. You can sort of envision the sort of injuries you're going to get from that. They are very much not going to be was it conducive or compatible? I think it might have been compatible with life. The injuries were not compatible with life. That's, I mean, the silver lining, I'm sure it was quick. $101 likes. Let's get Connors out of the gun safe. Oh, all right then. I try and get it. I have to say, when I was doing the gun shop show, they were using Google Meet, and it was actually, I used Google Meet years ago with Sam from SRS Power and Neil from Rack and Load, and it's come a long way. I have to say that I stopped using it because it was not the best, but this was pretty good actually. So we might try and get Connors here on a Google Meets. Try and get him back as soon as possible, I promise. If a criminal wants a gun, do you think he cares about the law? Absolutely, because it's illegal to be a criminal, right? And no one would break the law. He probably enjoyed his last ride until 0.1 second before he went. Yeah, it was not. I mean, the footage is pretty extreme. We've actually got a match. I wanted to talk about this slightly. Got a match on Saturday. I know actually a few people from the chat are going to it. It's the Evely Speed Stills. It's at this new range. So we talked about this new range. I'll bring it up actually. I'll show you guys. So we did talk about it last week, but for those that didn't see it, then let's bring it up. And Neil from speaking of Neil, he will be there as well, so I'll no doubt get him on camera, have a bit of a chat while we're there. Where is it? Here we go. So here's, and before you say no, this isn't in America, this is a UK range and it's epic. So this is where the match will be. Proper range, good size practical bays, and it's going to be the speed stills at Evely. Don't know if there's any. Nope, just campfire and all that. So that's this Saturday. So I'll be heading to there. So I want to try and make a video. It's always very hard when I'm sort of competing and trying to film, and I sort of half-heartedly do it, and then I don't get enough footage. But I'm really going to try and get a video of the match and yeah, film it. Show what it's all about and show how poorly I do about it. I think I'm actually going to be using Connor's new battle arms because I've been chomping at the bit to try that thing, and I'll be using that and filming a video, and you'll see that on the channel. And anybody that I don't know if this is open to anyone. No, it is a probational shoot, I think. If you can join KFC, if anybody wants to try practical for the first time, if you can get joined up to KFC, Kentucky Firearms Club, within the next week, there's a shoot on the 1st of May down in Leon-Solent, which is only like down the road for me, which is really convenient. It's the there's a shotgun shoot, so I'll be there. Like Connors will be there as well. We can have a little mag load stand. Oh, that's another point. If anybody is at the Evely Speed Stills and you want some mag load stuff, order it on the website, and you can use code collection. Don't go and order stuff and use the code if you want it delivered, because we're just going to charge you. We're just going to charge you postage. But if you want anything, if you want us to bring anything specifically for you at the Speed Still match, or any KFC, or any match, any show that you know we're going to be at, or any match you know we're going to be at, you can use code collection on maglo.co.uk. It will void the shipping charges, and then we can drop it off for you. But again, if you do it just to try and save postage and expect us to ship it out to, Taiwan for free, we're just going to hold on to it until you come and collect it. But yeah, you can leave a note on the order and say, collect from Evely or collect from KFC match, and we can, you can save the postage, and also you get to have it hand delivered by either yours truly or the bearded greatness. But yeah, so a couple of good matches coming up. KFC on the 1st down in Leon-Solent, and the Evely Speed Stills. May even try, depending on the signal, but I might even try like a few little live stream videos down there, like live stream the stages, because that can't go wrong at all, right? But yeah, it should be a good weekend of shooting. Any idea what's happened to SRS Power? He's just busy. So Sam. He ended up changing jobs, started like working his way up very, very quickly, and ended up spending a lot of time in Europe. He was traveling a lot of time spending a lot of time traveling for his job, and he basically said like they're just paying me a ridiculous amount of money. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. He's very tired all the time and has very little time to sort of do anything else, but he said he's loving the work and they're paying him really well, so unfortunately the channel has just sort of come second to everything, and he's been focusing on his career, focusing on his job. Smash that thumbs up for Callum if shooting is in your blood. Can I like my own video? Dang it, I've just paid postage for my ES merch. Was that you, Richard, that came through? I didn't see. Oh, yes. No worries. They're saying that if the English shooting stuff's in stock. But we'll get it. I'll get it to you. As we've paid postage, so I'll send it up to you when it's all good. The hats, so there's a couple of people that have bought the hats. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. I do have to get them on order. They're very, very quick. They'll be with you as soon as possible. But I appreciate that. I hope you don't mind a little bit of a wait, but it will be everything else I think is in stock. So it would just be the caps. Unfortunately, I'm not like Tommy Hilfiger. I'm not sat on a warehouse full of clothes, but I'll get those made up for you as quickly as possible. So they're made to order. It's just more couture, high end. But really appreciate it, and you'll get your stuff as soon as possible. You bought your hat. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and we'll get it out to you as quickly as possible. You want the Connors sticky personally delivered? You want the Connors sticky, or you want Connors sticky personally delivered? A lot of people want it. But yeah, I liked SRS Power, whatever his name was. He used to discuss contentious issues. Yeah, I mean, that's why Sam and I, we get on really well, because neither of us are scared to approach, let's say, controversial or sort of out there topics. What's happened to SRS Power? We're literally just talking about it. He's busy with work. Yeah, but he would really like. I mean, this is saying something. Like, you're bearing in mind, I don't have a firearm or shotgun certificate because of my non-mainstream views. There are a number of times where even I was like, whoa, like Sam really did like go out there. I think personally even a little bit too far, but I'm a big believer of freedom of speech, and at the end of the day, he's only talking about what he thinks, or he's only opening up a discussion or something. Sticks and stones might break my you know what I mean. Words will never help me. I hope Sam is feeding those hungry ferrets. Yeah, or they've escaped and they're running loose now. But Coco Chanel Gary. Yes. I'm going to rename the website. But yeah, he's doing all right. He still goes to the shows, still turns up, and as far as I know, he's still alive. Yeah, he actually shared a recent post on English from EnglishShooting, so he's either his account's been hacked or he's still alive. But yeah, there we go. I think that is everything for this evening. Before you all go, hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment. But I really do appreciate it. And I do have to give a huge thanks to everyone that's donated this evening. There's been quite a number of you, so really do appreciate it. I hope I managed to answer your questions sufficiently, and I know there's been a couple of requests for videos, Canon laws on Canons, and laws also on blank firearms, so I'll add that to the list and I'll try and get something out shortly. But it's that time of the evening. I need to go to the little boys' room. Probably need I didn't even get on to my second beer. I'll enjoy that after the stream. But yeah, thanks everyone for... Oh, Reckon Lowe's just turned up and we're going. Quick, everyone, run away. Hi, Neil. See you on Saturday. We were just wrapping up, Neil. So perfect timing. But you can watch this stream back as soon as it... You can... I think as soon as it ends, you can watch it from the beginning again if you want. Neil was far too... is far too big a YouTuber to be tuning into this stream early now. But yeah, Neil, I'll be seeing you on Saturday, of course. Looking forward to it. Be good to catch up, but hope you're well. Oh, and actually, congratulations is in order. I think this is public knowledge. You put it on your Facebook, Neil, so I hope it is. Neil's actually moving into the gun industry. He's got a job as a gun room manager at I won't say the name because I don't know if you've actually announced the name of the shop, but Neil will be a gun room manager at a nearby gun shop. So he's getting full time into the trade now, which I'm sure will only be should be fantastic for his channel and content. So yeah, big congratulations, Neil. Hope you enjoy the madness of living in the trade. But yeah, we'll see you Saturday, and anyone else who's going to be there. If you do see me about on Saturday, come and say hi. I don't bite most of the time unless you ask. Connor's on the other hand. You got to watch him. The beard looks cute and fluffy. It's just, you know, he can gobble you down in one mouthful. Anyway, on that note, thanks everyone for joining. It's been a fantastic stream. Thanks everyone for the donations, for liking, sharing, subscribing, and also for the merch. Those guys hitting up the English Shooting website, EnglishShooting.org, if you want to buy some merch and support the channel. But there we go. I will leave it there. I wish you all the best for the next week ahead until next Thursday at 7:30. We do it every single week, same time, same place. Should be a video or two out over. There should be a video on the weekend, and then maybe after that. But we see those things always change. But there we go. Stay safe. I hope you have a fantastic weekend shooting. And as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.